All right, back at it with our Wednesday practice. Any questions?
Sean, when Green Bay traded for Parsons, obviously it was a seismic. What was your reaction when that happened, and what kind of challenges did you face?
Well, look, when a trade happens, you're focused on whatever you're doing. So, two NFC teams make a trade, and it's news. But now, as a player, he's extremely explosive. He's got unique bend and balance for someone at that position. So he's a handful. I mean, he's a rare type player.
Coach, with the way he moves around on the line, how difficult is that for an offense?
Say it again.
With the way Parsons moves around the formation.
Yeah, look, there's not any one spot. That's a good point. He lines up to the right, to the left. You try to chart it. You try to track it. They do a good job looking at their own tendencies, self-scouting, and we've just got to understand where he's at.
Sean, Matt LaFleur was saying today that in that joint practice before last season, you guys got the best of them. Do you agree with that? And how does that joint practice help you? Haven't seen him last year.
It feels like it was 5 years ago. We have the film and we'll look at it, but we're really looking at this point in the season, we got such a volume of tape, with their personnel that we're currently seeing. But I have a hard time remembering last week, let alone the joint practice. I know we had good work, and the teams worked well together. And of course, we would look at that tape, but that's my memory of it.
So you don't remember if you got the better of them, like you said?
I just said that, right?
Okay.
Now, you could say what you want, but I just finished telling you that.
With how well Adam Prentice has been playing and the role that he's taken on, with Nate kind of getting healthy, does that impact how you think about, are you still trying to get Adam snaps?
Yeah, we'll based on the game plan and how we see fit. They play different spots, and yet there's certain things that they both can do. So it'd be game plan specific.
Sean, I think only 3 combined offensive penalties in the last 2 weeks. And when you look at the efficiency offensively, how much do you feel that being kind of?
It helps tremendously, and look, it helps when it comes to third down. And you're in a much more manageable position. The minute you get a holding call, if you looked at the statistics of converting on that drive, you really paint yourself in a bit of a corner. So obviously that's the number one thing that comes to mind.
Sean, you've won 10 in a row. You're at home, and yet you're an underdog. How do you?
I don't really pay attention to that until look, we know we're playing a good football team. And so that's something that we have no control over. We've got 4 tough opponents the next 4 weeks. 3 of the 4 of them are at home. We're counting on our crowd this week, not just at the line of scrimmage, but while they're in the huddle. I go back to a few weeks ago, and that communication that exists from the opponent when they're in the huddle, you'd be surprised when some teams' stadiums have it figured out. The quarterback to the group in the huddle, if that it all gets blurry, you have problems. And I thought our last home game with Kansas City was significant, and I'm counting on it being even at a higher level. So, we're playing a good team.
Sean, do you feel like your efficiency offensively is continuing to improve?
I think, look, last week, certainly there was markable gains in comparing to the last time we played them, how we played them, and it was a little bit more on our terms, and we were able to some degree to control the game. And sometimes games can unfold differently, but but yeah, last week was certainly a good week in a lot of areas.
When you look at Jordan Love, the way he's played the last few weeks, what impresses you about him?
Yeah, his deep ball accuracy, his poise in the pocket. He can extend, he can climb, he can run. He doesn't take sacks. I feel like over the last however many years, I've watched him just progress, and so there's a timing and a confidence level. They do a really good job offensively of getting the ball down the field to a talented group of receivers, and they're right near the top, first in third down. I think they're second in red zone. I mean, statistically speaking, both sides of the ball are way up there.
Coach, you talked about how each week there's a way.
Who did?
You talked about
Yeah.
each week there's a way to win a game. How is this group put aside ego or personal goals to fit whatever game plan?
I think our group, I think it's an unselfish team. I think they care about each other. Once you start winning some games, they recognize the significance of it, and ultimately that's what you have to have. Now that they know that we're putting plays in and trying to get certain players the ball, like last week, 2 or 3 different times, I'm trying to get Evan a touch, and we just get the wrong look. So I just think it's important that the skilled players understand there's certain plays that we put in today, for instance, for certain players, but there's some weeks that it'll just the ball travel differently based on the looks. But I think in all 3 phases, I think it's a close team.
Did you get a sense that there was that buy-in before you guys started winning these games?
It starts with finding the right people, and then obviously, you get a little confidence. You have these certain wins the off-season program, you felt it.
In that dynamic, you mentioned skill guys. Obviously, you've seen defenses throw a lot of defense in Portland the past couple of years, but you guys signed him to an extension beyond production. Like, what does he do behind the scenes in terms of stability?
Well, look, he epitomizes what you're looking for from a professional athlete. Just his daily work ethic, his approach, and then you see all of it, and then you see it on game day. He's definitely one of the team leaders, not just because he's been here a long time. I think that's his nature.
How's your relationship with LaFleur over the years?
Good. Yeah, good, I would say. We're at the combine, league meetings, that kind of thing, but I think good.
When you look back over the last few weeks, you guys have given up a lot of completions. Obviously, you're winning. We're just overall, how do you sort of evaluate where you're at, pass defense-wise?
Yeah, look, each game's different. Washington, certainly you're defending a certain type of offense, and then last week, there's some things last week that we felt like we needed to clean up, and that we better be able to. We're going to see a really good passing attack this week relative to maybe who we've defended in the prior.
Are they unique in the balance they have? They maybe don't have like a go-to.
Yeah, look, they've got a lot of weapons, a lot of receivers, a lot of guys that are coming back healthy, and a running back and a running game. I think that sometimes when we tune in the highlights, you don't see some of the dirty work and the pounding and the running, but they're balanced.
Coach, you mentioned the crowd. Can you feel the excitement and the team?
Yeah, but it's hard for me. But I do. But I'm just not out. I mean, I'm here, and then it's late. So, but I do get that sense. One more question.
Coach,
One more question. Go ahead.
How is Bo done under center? Do you like his development?
Yeah, I feel like I can't recall last year that transition being a big deal, and so last week we were in some heavier personnel groupings, and so each game's different relative to when we look at gun runs, under center runs, try to self-scout ourselves enough to where there's enough play action, maybe under center or drop back. I think that Yeah, I think that hasn't been a big learning curve. I think it's gone pretty smooth.
Do you like his footwork
Yeah,
in that situation?
yeah, under center. Yeah. I think he's pretty athletic. I mean, he's real athletic, so he does a good job, with the keeper game. Each week we'll look closely at, what are the out-of-pocket throws, and I think he's made some phenomenal throws on boots and nakeds, like ones that you're just, arm angle, that type of thing. All right, thanks.